When a professional sex toy tester talks about what actually delivers orgasm after orgasm after orgasm, I listen. I'm Karen Bigman, midlife sex and relationship expert, and on this show we talk about the things no one explained but everyone wonders about. Today I'm joined by an adult pleasure toy reviewer who approaches this topic with knowledge, humor, and a strong respect for bodies, boundaries, and safety. But before we get to the fun stuff, I have a huge announcement to make. I've launched a Substack community with exclusive content and where you can ask me anything. If you'd like to learn more, follow the link in the show notes. Now let's start playing. Today, I am welcoming Venus O'Hara. Venus is a British pleasure educator, sex tech consultant, author, and YouTuber based in Barcelona, Spain. With over 190,000 followers, she is one of the most influential and trusted voices in the global pleasure and erotic wellness space. Since 2014, she's reviewed more than 1,000 pleasure products. Boy, you must be having a good time. Designed dozens of her own and consulted for many of the world's most influential sex, tech, and wellness brands. She's the host of the Orgasmic Lifestyle podcast and the author of Orgasmic Manifestation, Transform Your Life with Your Sexual Energy. Welcome, Venus.
Hi, so glad to be here.
So let's just go. We'll talk a little bit about toys in midlife, but let's start with one toy in particular. What makes a toy worth reviewing for you?
I think it's something that I would use myself. So that's very important for me. And sometimes I don't say yes to everything. For example, if it looks like a realistic phallus or penis, I don't review it. I think it could be problematic, on social media. And that's not the kind of thing I really use anyway. So yeah, it has to be something that I would use myself, safe materials, reputable brands, and yeah, something that excites me. And also after so many years and so many products, I want to review, I want to experience new things. Not just for the experience of something new, but also to make content that's new as well. Because there's only so many vibrating rabbit vibrators that you can actually review. I have about 150 rabbits or something.
What's the favorite rabbit?
I think actually I have one right here because I've got one of the best rabbits I've ever had is the Ina from Lilo's. Is one of the best in terms of the size. And it's interesting because rabbits, they're supposed to be for dual stimulation. This is inside the vagina, this outside. So it's for the G-spot and the clitoris, but I tend to use them completely externally as a perineum massager. And that's something that I would love to share because I think not everyone wants penetration all the time. And, just having it resting between the legs and have the clitoris on the other side of this clitoral arm and have this at the perineum is really nice. So I would recommend using a rabbit completely externally if you haven't tried it already. And that makes it way more versatile. Because usually when we use sex toys internally, I don't know if this is something that's generic or more my own experience, your body's not as ready to open up because we don't do enough solo seduction or solo foreplay. We just get the toy, it goes straight to the genitals, and then your body might not be receptive to penetration. And also they tend to be harder than a penis. So it tends to be a bit harder to insert than a penis when you're in that moment where you've already had some mental and emotional build up, to that moment. So it tends to be a little bit harder. So I just prefer to use things completely externally when I'm using sex toys for pleasure. But rarely I actually penetrate myself. It doesn't happen as often as people think. And something I find really interesting is that people think that everything is for penetration. When you show someone a toy, they think, oh my God, that's huge. You're putting it all inside you. And often it's not,
Yeah, I'm looking at that thinking that could be used on a male body as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This could be for anal stimulation, prostate stimulation. It can be for the full body massage. It can be clitoral on the shaft. So I think rabbit vibrators are a great place to start if you don't know what you want. Because one problem that people have, especially married couples or couples who are buying toys to get the spark back, is that someone says, oh, I spent $150 on that and she didn't like it. So what do you do in that situation? And I think to prevent that, I think it's good to get toys that are versatile. So if she doesn't like it one way, then try some different things as well.
Do you have a ritual when you test a toy?
I do. Well, I do this really crazy thing called Orgasmic Manifestation, which is the title of my latest book. And right now, so every time I am testing a toy for work or pleasure, I am doing a manifestation ritual. So I think about, what do I want to achieve in my life? Today, actually, I was just thinking I want to travel more. So I have this technique called eroticize your desire. So I try and kind of weave in my non-sexual goal with a sexual fantasy, if that makes sense. It takes
Ooh,
a
how
lot of
interesting.
mental work. Yeah. So for example, this apartment I'm in now, when I was manifesting it, I was in a tiny apartment that was a tiny studio, and I had 300 sex toys, no sofa. It was very, it was not as comfortable as now. But I was imagining myself barefoot with this parquet floor and boxes everywhere and the window open and the breeze. And I was imagining the best cunnilingus ever in this new apartment. And here I am.
Wow. Wow. But you test the toys alone, or do you test them with a partner, or both?
Usually alone. I've had some experience. It's interesting because I have a 2-bedroom apartment, and in my spare room, that's my archive area. So I have around over 1,000 toys, but in my bedroom, I have none. So I don't usually test toys with a partner. Also, because this is my work, I have a very different type of usage than most people. I just want to be skin to skin with someone. However, I do, it is fun sometimes to experiment with toys and do unboxings when I'm in situations of that I can share them. But I'm currently single, so I don't have that opportunity right now. But it is a fun to share that. I really like the idea of outsourcing the script, because sometimes we can get caught in a routine of with our partners. But if you have a sex toy, let's try this. That opens up the possibilities of pleasure to new paradigms, and then and try new things.
I've had some interesting experiences dating so I've been using vibrators since I went through menopause and needed one. I had issues with anorgasmia, and so I always brought a vibrator into the bedroom or wherever the room is. And I have had several guys say to me that the reason I need a vibrator is because I haven't met a man who can actually satisfy me properly. They're often threatened by the idea of a vibrator. How would you talk to that?
Well, it's something I've observed a lot. And before working in this industry, I was a big vibrator user myself. And maybe 20 years ago, the biggest thing was the rabbit. And as it's phallic, I think people felt quite threatened by it, replacing a phallus. But now I think things have changed now, because I think now there's more things like the Satisfyer Pro 2 with air stimulation. So there is a lot more, external stimulation. And also now I think the ways that we use sex toys has changed a lot. I mean, there are lots of wearable sex toys and remote control, app control, and those toys require a partner most of the time to get the most out of them. So I think it's really nice how we are sharing these experiences, creating new ways of connecting, in person or even with distance. And I really like the idea that it's not really about the orgasm, it's about the connection, the complicity, and the tease, really.
But one could argue that you're having less connection because you've got a toy and you're not actually touching.
I think it's a build-up, and I think there's a lot to say with the humor that's involved. I mean, I gave one of my friends a Panty vibe for her birthday, and it was one that was remote control, because not everyone wants to download an app. That can be a little bit, it can take up time. But when you got the remote control, it's just press and go. So if you're in a restaurant, you can just put it into the toy into your underwear, then you come back, and then you make sure it's paired, of course, you don't have any disasters. Then you give the remote control to your partner, and every time the waiter comes, you start repressing that button and purposely making them uncomfortable in a beautiful way. So I think that creates a lot of complicity and this partner in crime type energy, which I think is really hot. And I think humor is really sexy as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think you have to laugh about it. I mean, if you're so serious, it's that whole performative aspect of sex. Like, we're going to do this thing, and this is the script we're going to follow, and then he's going to put his penis inside me, and that's, the act will be over. Whereas if you get more playful, especially for couples who haven't been intimate for a long time, I think adding something like a toy, I love that one too, because that's kind of a sort of, you're daring each other. To do something like that. So do you have a favorite one of the Panty toys? I've never tried one, I have to say. I've never tried one. Taking it out of the house.
I don't know if I have a favorite. I just think in general they're not as orgasmic, because you need to have a bit more pressure on your genitals to actually get to the orgasm. But it's just about that tease, really. But one that's really good to have here is the fairy from Love Ends. This might be the strongest one that I have. This is a really good one. And also this will double up as a clitoral stimulator after. So when you get home, then you can actually use it on the on the clitoris. Because one thing about love ents in particular, they have really strong motors, because not all small toys have that deep rumbly motor that most people really love.
And do they make noise? Like
if you're sitting
vibrating
down
under the table?
it could make it sound like an earthquake, if you're actually sitting on a I think it depends on what you're wearing, and if it's a sofa or a hard chair, that kind of thing, and how much music there is around.
It's like whenever I have from many years ago one of those wands that plug into the wall. That's like the roto.
Oh, yeah.
My ex-boyfriend called it the roto rooter. It's like coming in.
Yeah, it's funny because I think the sound is more troublesome when you're with a partner. If you're alone and you live alone, it doesn't really matter. But when you're with a partner, it can just be really unsexy, because it's just really off-putting. Yeah.
I guess you got to put the music really loud, or if you're high or
exactly.
something, maybe it makes it a little bit better. Quick pause, because if your pleasure has been feeling a little under-seasoned, I've got something zesty for you. Meet Lem from Nancy. Lem, your happy little lemon with a very specific skill set. Lem is a clitoral massager designed for anyone curious about air suction pleasure, but not looking to dive straight into the deep end. Think beginner friendly, but absolutely not boring. Arthritic hands, stiff fingers, zero interest in holding something heavy while negotiating 12 buttons? Perfect. Lem is easy to hold, easy to use, and has 12 intensities and patterns, because sometimes you want to get straight to the point. Use code TABOO25 for 25% off the Lem at hellonancy.com. That's hellonancy.com, TABOO25. Longer, stronger, deeply satisfying orgasms. No peeling required. All right, lemons squeezed. Now back to the show. So let's talk a little bit about particularly the challenges of midlife and some of the tools that you might want to introduce, or types of tools or toys that would be particularly helpful for women who are dry, having issues with menopause, and men who are having erectile issues. I don't know how many products. You said you did review some men's tools.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think I always say, for me, don't make so much distinction about the age, because I think also there are many people who've never had an orgasm. They might have the same advice I would give could apply to different people. But in general, something I would really think is a great way to start is with a wand massager. I mean, this is one that's really good. A wand massager, because everyone's got aches and pains, no matter how old you are. I mean, everyone's got aches. Everyone's been sitting down too long. So I think it's really nice to actually start with a mutual massage with a wand massager, because the motors are so strong that it's just really nice on your shoulders. Even people who are a bit like not so open to sex toys will just love, let me just try this on your shoulder, and they'll be like, and they start to relax, and then suddenly I think the attitudes start to change when it's not so genital centric, and something like this I just reviewed this the other day. I think it's fantastic. It's called Wonderful from Satisfyer. So it's got that air stimulation plus the wand, so you got like two toys in one. So it's got an amazing motor, and then it's got this air as well. So I think just introducing the concept of mutual massage is a great place to start. And also you can use that vibration on the penis, maybe on different parts of the body, even the perineum, and then of course the clitoris. I think it's a great place to start a mutual exploration of sex toys.
That's great. I just got one that I've been trying that is from a company called Nancy, and it's a lemon. It's called the Lem, and it's like, for me, it's really easy to hold. I know I've mentioned to you that I have the issues with arthritis, and it's very light and comfortable in my hand. And so I like sort of smaller but powerful little ones. And then the idea of a panty toy too is probably a really good tip.
Yeah, actually, you made me think about I might start including a new category in my reviews and start having hands free, because there are many toys that can be hands free. And just the other day when I tried this, actually, I did think of you, because I was this angle here on this particular toy. You can actually use this hands free if you're wearing pajama bottoms or leggings or something like that, because it's got that angle, and then it's going to stay in place, because not all toys are going to stay in place without your hands. So that's a kind of a good place to start, I would say.
It's like the guy who gets going, and as soon as you're ready, he moves.
Yeah.
He moves.
Yeah. But other people might like mounting. I don't really like face down. I prefer to be on my back. But that could be an alternative as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's also all fun to have these experiences and just try something new. I think it's really important always to try something new, and that newness is very sexy as well.
Any other style of toys? You said the rabbits, the wands.
For couples,
Yeah.
I think something that's amazing, which I really love, is these tip vibrators. I'm not really into the tip, very pointy tip on the clitoris personally, but something like this is really nice just to actually go around the face. You know, it's just so nice, like even around the sides of your mouth and your lips. Because I think often, well, I don't know about if this is relevant to everyone, but in general, in relationships, it just tends to be, you know, the very obvious areas of your body, like maybe the lips, the neck, or the breasts, the butt. You know, but I think, you know, what about the ears? What about the earlobes? What about the nape of your neck? I think it's really nice to explore those areas. And even when we go to the hairdresser and you get that 5-minute head massage, you think, oh, 5 more minutes. You know, I think there's not enough exploration of the erogenous zone. So this particular toy, these tip vibrators, they're really nice to actually just go around the eyebrows, the whole face. Even you will find, I've found that you will discover parts of your body that you never knew were erogenous with something like this. And even between the fingers, this is like digit cunnilingus. It's incredible how much stimulation you can get from the whole of your body, even the palm of your hand. I really recommend having, and that's the great thing about aging as well, is it's not about, you know, sport sex and sprints. It's about really slowing it down, because penetration can get very boring when it's like, oh, you're going to come yet? And it just becomes this race. But just to slow down and just really explore the fingertips, you know, just every part of your body, but inside the elbows, behind the knees. It's just this is the whole, you've got so much skin to explore. So I would just really try and get some pleasure mapping thing going.
I love that. And the toes too, for that same, which
if you can take it, if you're into, yeah, because some people are really funny about their feet, and I personally like it, but that's a whole erotic genre of the erotic tickling, you know. It depends if you're into that as well, but that's definitely a place too that's very sensitive. The arch of the foot, you know, between the toes, and also something great about this particular toy is that it's double-ended. So you've got this other normal, kind of more normal vibrator here for G-spot and penetration, if you like. So that's the thing about sex toys, is if you're going to spend a lot of money on a toy, you want something that's versatile, so it's going to offer different types of stimulation. So if you don't particularly like this, then you can try the other side, you know. So and change it up. That's something I think is really, really valuable.
What do you think of like the flickers? I bought this one flicker and it was bizarre. It looked like a cone, and then it had what looked like a little tongue in the middle.
I think the idea is good, and they have a lot of impact on social media. I mean, whenever I, you know, share something with them that has movement, everyone's like, oh my God, look at that. But they look better than what they are. And they're quite painful, to be honest. The only one that I tried recently is called Tongue Master from Satisfy. That one's really good, because the problem with sex toys in general is that when we are approaching orgasm or getting more excited, we tend to naturally press them against your body a bit more, and those flicking motion will stop. And also, you got to think about if you have pubic hair or not. You know, is it compatible with the pubic hair? So I tend to think of those things more of maybe erogenous or maybe foreplay toys with lots of lubricant on the nipples, maybe, or for tickling, etc. But it's not something I would really have an orgasm with. It's quite hard, and they can be quite painful as well,
especially as we get more sensitive. Definitely. Yeah, I agree. Any other style of toys that you think are worth mentioning here?
Let me see what I have on my desk, which is just I think, you know, something that's really interesting is the glass and steel toys. No, these are really interesting because people think, oh, that's cold, it's horrible, but in actual fact, this is another thing you can use for the concept of erogenous exploration. So for something like temperature play, so you're having maybe a warm cup of tea and a cold glass of water, you can alternate dipping different ends into the different temperatures and having someone blindfolded. So I think it's really nice to explore the sensation and sensuality with toys and not be so genital focused. Because as you said earlier about you haven't got the right penis yet, whatever you said about the sex toy. Well, how about not using something for the genitals and exploring everything else? Then someone's not going to get jealous of that, or, you know, so I think it's having, you know, opening the mind to different types of uses.
Yeah, I think sensation plays a great way, especially for couples who haven't been intimate for a really long time, to get started in a very like non-threatening way, and it becomes playful too, which is what we were talking about before. I think that's so important.
Because I remember I was in a relationship actually a few years ago, And it was really weird because I was the one avoiding sex and I'm the sexpert. So I felt very weird. And every time he would like try and give me a massage, I knew he just wanted to end in penetration. So I felt this pressure. And I think that's that can be true of many couples. And then you just shut down. So then you don't really want the massage, even though your body might like the massage. So I think removing the concept of just penetration just opens up so many possibilities, and not having, it's not even about orgasm. It's just about that connection and relaxation. I think that's a better goal to go for when you've kind of lost the spark or the connection over time.
And it makes the person who doesn't want to get intimate, like it, when they know they don't have to go there, it makes it that much more exciting for them to get there, or at least more willing to be there. And then I know there's been times when, you know, that kind of foreplay has lasted so long that at some point you're just like, okay, take me now.
Yeah, don't stop.
That was so amazing. I need it now.
Definitely.
We are just getting started. Part 2 is coming next week, and trust me, you'll want to hear this. If you love this conversation, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow Taboo to Truth wherever you get your podcasts.